Opinions and stories around the game we love, told by your favorite storytellers. Stay up to date with all things cricket. Subscribe to CricBuzz's YouTube channel and press that bell icon now.
I've always loved numbers and I've always loved history. And in this show, you'll find out exactly how well these two mix in our cocktail of history, culture, and cricket. Welcome to Retro Reels, where we'll be looking at the momentous events that happen in one specific week in time. Mostly cricket, but sometimes we take a little detour to other places. So hop on and enjoy this ride. So we start this journey in the first week of April and with a six. A towering six hit off a Nuwan Kulasekara delivery sailing straight over long on from MS Dhoni's bat. And a six that gave India its first World Cup win in 28 years on the 2nd of April 2011. Well, so many amazing stories from that magical April day in 2011. And so much pressure, given that India hadn't won a World Cup in 28 years. And the most pressure would have been on Sachin Tendulkar. But the person who was actually feeling the most pressure that day wasn't Sachin Tendulkar. It was one Virendra Sehwag who rushed to the bathroom the moment the last ball was hit for a six, because Sachin Tendulkar had not allowed him to move even an inch while the Indian innings was on. That's what you call real pressure. What else happened on that momentous, magical day? Well, this was the first World Cup where the DRS, the decision review system, was being used, and India found it useful on the most important time in the match. There was a very threatening partnership between Samaravira and Jayawardene that was threatening to take the match away from India. And Yuvraj comes in to bowl, and the first ball, he hits Samaravira on the pads. And he went straight up. Teufel is totally unmoved. And Yuvraj wants to go for the DRS. He turns to his captain Dhoni, and Dhoni said no. But then he turned to his player and he realized that this was one tournament where Yuvraj could do no wrong. They went upstairs with the DRS, and Samaravira was out, and the match changed in India's favour. Many years later, we look back and we call DRS the Dhoni review system. But that was one day where Dhoni learned a little bit about reviewing from his fellow cricketer. From that huge sixer in 2011, let's move to another number, 5. And this is one fifer that you'll find very, very difficult to believe. This is almost as difficult as Anil Kumble's 10 wickets or Jim Laker's 10 wickets. These were 5 songs. 5 songs by the Beatles that were 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 on the top of the Billboard charts. From Can't Buy Me Love to Please Please Me to She Loves You to Twist and Shout to I Want to Hold Your Hand. 5 songs, all 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 on the charts. And in their career, just 9 or 10 years together, they got an amazing 20 Billboard number ones. I can tell you one thing, do watch Dhoni batting, but also if you have a chance, listen to the Beatles. You'll never regret my advice. And even the Beatles have a cricket connection. Frank Duckworth, who's one part of Duckworth and Lewis, he was doing his doctorate, and when he was doing his doctorate in Liverpool, he was staying at a place rented by John Lennon's aunt. And he once met John Lennon during a bus ride, and they both looked at each other and, well, they mumbled at each other. And the conversation wasn't great. It certainly wasn't a classic. What was a classic, though, was the World Cup final played in the Eden Gardens in 2016. 19 runs for West Indies to get in the final over, and their top batsman Marlon Samuels was not even on strike. And the man at the other end who was on strike was not even the most famous person from his own school or his own class, because his classmate was Rihanna. This was Carlos Braithwaite facing perhaps the most important over in West Indian T20 history. And guess what happened? 6, 6, 6, 6. Carlos Braithwaite, remember the name. That's what happened, 4 straight sixes to set up one of the most incredible wins in international cricket history. One lovely moment outside the field. With just a ball to go, 3 sixes already hit, David Lloyd, who was a British commentator, turned round to Ian Bishop and let him go. And Ian Bishop commentated both the last ball and the final moments of celebration in that match. Grace and sportsmanship at its very, very best. And sportsmanship is something we associate with a little-known French nobleman, Baron Coubertin. Baron Coubertin was fascinated by the ancient Olympics and decided to revive it, and he got his wish this very week in 1896 in Athens. Coubertin knew this would become big, but what he didn't know was this would become the largest multi-sport festival in the world. And he got his wish. And the same week in 1941, one of India's sharpest cricket minds was born. Ajit Wadekar was born to a middle-class family in Mumbai, and 3 decades later, he would lead India to some of its most memorable triumphs in the West Indies and England. One final story from that April in 2011. That night, the Wankhede Stadium had the cream of Indian society watching. From politicians like Shashi Tharoor, industrialists, Mukesh Ambani, Neeta Ambani, actors, actresses, Preeti Zinta, Amir Khan, they were all there watching India play. And also watching India play was an 11-year-old Arjun Tendulkar watching his father play the most important game of his life. And his friend, a young boy sitting beside him, also with dreams in his eyes. 7 years later, Prithvi Shaw would lead India to an Under-19 World Cup championship in New Zealand. And after that, scored a test century in debut. Sometimes dreams do come true. Maybe this week, maybe next week. That's all from Retro Reels. Till next week, goodbye.